Do you know what's so interesting about success? When I look at people around me who are ultra successful, I mean, whether it's in their business, their investments with money, or in their physical health, or maybe it's in their relationship. Interestingly, it's not that they're any smarter, and it's not that they're any more talented, and they weren't born with something special. Instead, they simply had a different mindset. They think differently, and you've heard me say it before. Your thoughts lead to your feelings lead to your actions, and your actions lead to your results. For these successful people, the outside world, the results that you see is a reflection of the inside world, the way you think. Now that we're close to the end of the year, let me ask you a question. Looking back, how successful has this year been for you? And if you're like most of us, there have been a lot of challenges this year, probably more than most years. So in today's show, I chat with Kurek Ashley, and he'll give you some clues as to how to make next year the most successful year you've had. Now, I know that's a bold claim, but Kurek's known as the Transformer, and when we chat, you'll understand why. So welcome to today's show.
Welcome to the Michael Yardney podcast, where twice each week you will learn a number of new ideas regarding success, property investment, and money in around 30 minutes. Our show is brought to you by Metropole, who specialise in helping you grow, protect, and pass on your wealth through strategic property and wealth advice. Now, here's your host, Michael Yardney, Australia's authority in wealth creation through property, who has been voted one of Australia's top 50 most influential thought leaders.
Would you like to achieve more success in your life? If you could, what would that mean to you? Well, my guest today is going to explain how that's possible for you. Joining me is Kurek Ashley, who's considered one of the most inspirational speakers on the planet. He's renowned as the Transformer because his astounding ability to help people transform their lives, their businesses, their disease. Now, I know that's an amazing claim. Let's see if he can live up to it. Kurek is an author of a #1 best-selling book, How Would Love Respond? But he's renowned as having transformed the lives of hundreds of thousands of people all over the world. So welcome, Kurek.
Oh, thanks, Michael, for having me. What an honor to be on your show.
Now, I know a little bit about you, but many of my listeners may not. Even though you're well-known in Australia, you're well-known around the world as well. So before I ask you to help us, me, achieve more success, I think it's only fair that we understand a little bit about who we're listening to and why we should listen to you. So, Kurek, do you mind just telling us a little bit about your backstory and how that's led you to the position that you're in now, that you actually are able to transform people's lives?
Sure, Michael. Well, the rumor is true. I used to be an actor in Hollywood. I did 38 movies. I did 2 films with John Travolta. I've worked with Sylvester Stallone, Chuck Norris, Russell Crowe, Charlie Sheen. Not that we brag too much about that one anymore, but
yes.
And I used to play bad guys. I got typecast, I guess. And in 1989, I was doing the movie Lock Up with Sylvester Stallone, and then I was on the way to the Philippines to do Delta Force 2 with Chuck Norris. So being a 27-year-old man in those days, it was like working my icons, Stallone and Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
And when I was doing Delta Force 2, I was in a helicopter crash while we were filming, and 5 of my friends died. My best friend was on fire when I carried him out of the wreck, and he was he died in my arms on the way to the hospital. For 2.5 years, I had a gun in my mouth and drugs up my nose, and I wasn't partying. I was just trying to kill myself. Thank God I'm not a success at everything in life.
That's good.
My journey back to finding myself, I really had to dig deep into the personal development. I had always been in it. I had always been coaching. I'd always been speaking, but it was kind of more of a sideline. But the helicopter wreck really changed my path of where I was going to go. And then I realized that the movies wasn't it for me anymore. It just wasn't what I wanted. So I've been, coaching and speaking around the world, and moved to Australia 24 years ago and love it. And, I probably have the best job in the world because I really help people fulfill their dreams.
That's very satisfying, isn't it? Well, At the moment, a lot of people's dreams have been shattered. It's been spoiled the last couple of years. Some of us have been locked down. Some of us have had health issues. Then this year there are financial issues. And it seems to have taken the toll on people, correct, on their mental health as well as their physical health. I don't know if you've noticed, everyone seems to be more stressed, more tired, more worn out lately.
Well, Michael, I think it kind of always exists. I think it's just been highly, marketed better than ever before.
Oh, the media has a big part to play, hasn't it?
Oh, sure. It's just that, the key distinction between what we're going to call holistically successful people, that means successful in all areas of your life, not just the accumulation of money, but really all areas of your life. The difference between those people and then the masses, by the way, the number one most consumed drug on the planet are called antidepressants, right? So that would be the masses. Well, the difference between those two groups, because we all go through the same stuff. I mean, everybody went through the COVID drama and lockdown and all that stuff, and everybody went through the global financial crisis and things like that. But the difference is that successful people, we learn how to manage how we think and feel differently, right? Differently than the masses, obviously, and then differently than we used to even ourselves. Because how we manage it determines how we're going to feel about it. And that's going to determine how we think about it and then how we act about it. And then that's going to produce a different result. So it really comes down to really working on ourselves. But when we buy into the outside hallucination that dictates how I think and feel, well, then we really are victims to it all.
Well, we really can't control the outside world, so we've got to learn to better control our reaction to it. I fully agree with you. And just for those people listening to this who know I normally talk about property and wealth, to me, true wealth isn't how many properties you've got or how big your share portfolio is, but it's really what you're left with if they take all that away. And boy, has the last couple of years shown us the importance of having a general holistic view of wealth. True wealth to me is being able to have health, have somebody who loves you and you love, being able to keep learning and growing, being able to contribute back to the community. So I'm looking forward to our chat because it's really not just all about accumulating property, but different people have got different definitions of success. But I think most people don't achieve the success that they're hoping for. What do you think is the biggest reason most people don't succeed?
Well, the biggest reason is that their thoughts and their emotions aren't harmonized. So your thoughts are an electronic energy that we're sending out. Your emotions are a magnetic energy that we're sending out. Together, it's an electromagnetic energy that we're sending out that attracts things and pulls things into our life. But imagine that you're thinking what you want, but you kind of feel like you're never going to have it. So now we have a disharmony in those two frequencies. Well, we're never going to attract what we want there. So it really is, again, is making sure that we are not hoping or wishing, that we have an expectation. Now, the TION on the end of a word means the experience of. So when you're saying expectation, you're talking about the experience of what you expect to have happen. In life, most people wish really big, but they expect very little. And in life, you're going to get what you expect.
Interesting. So what do you think holds most people back from taking that action, getting towards those goals?
Well, I would say, Michael, is one of the biggest things is people have impotent goals. They have goals like, I want to make enough money to pay off my credit card debt. Well, the problem with that is that first, you didn't create any abundance. So, you're only paying for old stuff that you've already got. Well, there's no excitement about that. There's no inspiration in that. Then if you pay it off, well, now you're back at zero on your way back into debt. So nothing really changed. It's having what I call your grand dream goals. Now, grand dream goals don't need to be big or expensive. They can be, but that's not the criteria. They're the goals that give you the most amount of joy to experience. Those are your grand dream goals. And when you have grand dream goals, it fires you up, it gets you powerful and passionate, and you're going after them every day. It's that passion that you need that pulls you through the setbacks and the challenges and the delays and the rest of those things. Money's not a real good goal because you can't really see money or you can't really experience money. I mean, if you're on a Titanic and it's sinking and Richard Branson offers you $100 billion for the last seat in a lifeboat, well, I don't know how much that money's going to do for you. So the reason that we become entrepreneurs is to create lifestyle, not to make money. We think the money is going to give us the lifestyle, but imagine if you went for the lifestyle first. Well, it's easier to make the money then because your brain makes a neuro association between what you're feeling and what you're experiencing and what you're doing. And so when we feel great about it, we're going to want to do more of it naturally and automatically.
Well, I think most people want to achieve something. Most people have got goals, and as we keep saying, they're not achieving them. So what is it that's gotten the massive results? How are you managed to get people the massive results, the people that you've managed to work with?
Michael, I have seen some of the most profound, wonderful, awe-inspiring results with people that even as the coach, I'm in awe, yet I expect it. I worked with a client here on the Sunshine Coast. His business was choking him out. He's answering 250 emails a day, just from his staff, by the way. His kids are tugging on him, Dad, you don't got enough time. Well, working with him, his business has dramatically grown. He has way more time with the family, and he made an extra $10 million profit this year. So it's having both. And the answer to your question is that it's really not about me. It's about a formula. It's a scientific formula based in the law of cause and effect, that if you study successful people and you study unsuccessful people, you'll notice that there's two different patterns going on. And so if you want to change groups, all you have to do is change to the formula for success. And the first part of that was that you have to reinvent yourself. You can't be the person that you are today and think different results are going to show up, because cause and effect would say that every result is the byproduct of a certain action or series of actions that will produce that. So if we're not producing that result, that would mean that something needs to change. And that would be us, because the universe is not really going to come find you and all of a sudden deliver riches to your doorstep. It's that you have to get on the frequency of the things that you want. And when you're on that frequency, well, you receive whatever's on that frequency.
Now, interestingly, every podcast I have a mindset message at the end, and I start off by saying you can change your life by change the way you're thinking, and if you don't change, nothing will change. And I guess, Kurek, what I guess I'm getting at is you are where you are today because of all the actions you've chosen to take, but also that all the actions you've chosen not to take. Now, you hinted that there's a formula, and that's probably teasing us a little bit. So tell us a bit more about this formula.
Yeah, sure, Michael. The funny part is, since I've been around 18, 19 years old, I got to be friends with a gentleman named Sylvester Stallone. His best friend from university was my Mr. Miyagi. His name's John Hirschfeld. He's the director. And Sly used to always say to me, Kurek, money's a mindset. Now, this is, by the way, I was living in my car a lot of times when I was getting this speech. And I go, well, that's easy for you, Sly, because you got a lot. And he goes, no, see, you're an idiot. Once you get the mindset, your results will catch up to your mindset. And, I never really got that originally. And well, obviously I've gotten it later on in life, but the key is that the formula is that, number one, you have to have the right mindset.
Yes. And
people go, well, I'm motivated, I'm positive. And I go, that's great. But if you don't have the results, obviously that's not the whole mindset. The mindset is that we're coachable, we're moldable. We want somebody to hold us accountable. We have the attitude of show me the way, I'll do it, and then we have another attitude, which is, I don't know how I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it anyways, which is making a decision. Once we have that mindset, we have to develop some new skill sets, right? So if you think about that now, and by the way, after that would be follow through, so if we have the right mindset and you develop new skill sets and you follow through, well, what can't you produce? I mean, if you think about it. So as an author of my book, I tried to write 2 other books before How Would Love Respond, and pretty much wrote myself into a corner. I babbled on paper. I couldn't even understand it. So I didn't want to die with my music still in me. So I hired a wordsmith to teach me how to structure my thoughts. I learned about publicity and publishing and marketing and online campaigns. And that's why, 4 years of writing the book, within 4 hours of release, it takes number 1 on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. I had 15 bestsellers lists. Well, that wasn't a fluke. That was a marketing campaign, right? And so now, here's the example, Michael. I didn't know how to do it. I learned how to do it. Now I get paid to teach other people to do it by having the right mindset, developing new skill sets, and then having follow through.
You mentioned about coaches, and I think that's very important. I have a number of business coaches still, even though I've got a very successful national business, because I think you do need somebody to hold you accountable. I believe it is important to have somebody to see your blind spots. And that's actually one of the traits of most successful people I've come across. They're prepared to invest in themselves and pay for coaches and be part of a mastermind group and team, while the average Australian gets their information for free on the internet. And I guess the most expensive information you can get is the wrong information that's free, Kurek.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, Michael. Robert Kiyosaki said to me one day, he said, Kurek, the most expensive advice you'll ever get is free advice from poor people.
That's right.
And they're always the people who want to give it to you. The truth is, and again, I'm not name dropping or whatever, is, it's just, they're my peers, especially working in movie industries. I was having lunch with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he said that, the misconception about him is that people think he's a self-made man. And he said, there's nothing farther from the truth, Kurek. He said, I've had help all the way along the way. Number one bodybuilder in the world, movie star, governor, people have helped me along the way. He said, only poor people don't get help because they never ask for it. Successful people, we get help because we do ask for it, and that's what makes you strong. And I have coaches, being one of the leading peak performance coaches on the planet. I have coaches because it would be terrible to teach other people you need a coach, but then you don't actually do it yourself.
Well, I think that's one of the formulas of my success in my business. When I first got a business coach in, I think it was 2006 was the first time I've got one, and I've had one ever since. And I now, with Mark Creedon, run Business Accelerator Mastermind, or Mark runs it. I'm a more silent partner, and we help business people as well. And we coach our clients and mentor our clients with regard to wealth creation. So I guess that means that anyone can do it. You don't need to be lucky. You don't need to be special to be successful, Kurek.
No, because the formula is scientific. So it's not biased. It's not prejudiced. It's not racist. It's not for people with the 13th chromosome that doesn't, or the 13th zodiac sign or whatever. It's for anybody who puts it into action. And if you look at the word investment, Michael, because you said, you have to make investment. Well, it's right there in the word, INVESTMENT. I invest in me. It's right there in the word.
Hey, I like that.
The best investment you can ever make is in your own personal development, because it means you're developing your person into being a better, smarter, stronger, more skillful version of yourself. Well, that new version will create results the old version could never create, and it will actually do it easily because that's just who you are at that level. So that's why still to this day, every day I work on myself. It's the first thing I do when I get up in the morning, because imagine you have an empty tank in your system, and you walk out the door with that tank still empty. Well, don't be surprised people throw their garbage in your empty vestibule. That's why I fill up my tank every morning, because when you do, the outside world really doesn't have that same negative effect on you anymore. It can kind of like water off a duck's back. But also is you're going to attract different things to you, because whatever we're filled with is what we spread. So if you're filled with happiness, you spread happiness. If you're filled with being pissed off and miserable, well, we get that. We spread that too.
Now, most of the people listening to this show are in Australia, a lot in Southeast Asia as well, and we're very lucky where we live. I guess we've won the lottery there, because in this country, in my mind, everyone can be successful. Of course, they won't all be successful. There are lots of parts of the world where, unfortunately, the government and corruption and just the society won't allow it. So currently, there are a lot of opportunities, but everyone seems to be working a lot harder at the moment. Is it really possible for somebody to actually work less, have a better work-life balance, Kurek, but still achieve their goals?
Absolutely, Michael. It's, look, as a coach, if somebody said to me, in order to succeed or work, achieve your goals, you got to work harder, I'd be saying you're fired.
Yeah.
My father, he used to say you have to keep your nose to the grindstone if you want to succeed, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
The old-fashioned way.
Grinding off your face never really sounded like a great strategy to me. I'm thinking, I don't get that one. But my father, he was the hardest working man I ever met in my life. He had total integrity. The problem is that whatever you plant is what you grow. And so my dad got, for that hard work, he got a hard life. So he used to say I was lazy. And I said, Dad, you don't understand is I want to enjoy my life right now and be successful. And then near the end of my dad's life, he said, you know what? I should listen to you because you produced way more success and it looks like you're enjoying yourself more. Well, the truth, Michael, is that number one is if we know where we are and we know where we want to be, all you have to do is figure out what's the first step instead of wasting our time creating this whole plan of action. Because, well, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Life doesn't really go to plan. So by just doing that first step and completing it, it will show you the next step and the next step, and you'll get to your goals so much faster without as much action. So instead of taking massive action, start asking yourself, what effective actions am I taking today? Because, well, that's a more specific question, and these answers you get are more specific strategies, and you'll actually produce more movement. Because the biggest challenge I see in people is that, well, they're taking a lot of action, they're doing a lot of, activity, but they don't have much movement. And
I mean, there's thousands of things, hundreds of things you could do. You really have to find the 2 or 3 things that you can do, in my mind, that are actually going to give you the best bang for your bucks and results, because people are very busy, but that is actually not productive.
Yeah. So, and it's a confusion between activity and movement. I actually don't care about the activity. I just want the movement. I want so I work on effective actions every day so I can do less and produce way more, which is awesome. And then the key is, make sure you're acknowledging yourself for everything you're doing approximately right and leave all the criticism alone, because the criticism makes you want to stop. But it's patting yourself on the back and celebrating everything. So if it's weight loss, I don't care if you lose 1 gram of fat, celebrate it, because your brain makes a neuroassociation between what you're experiencing and how you're feeling, and it determines, should I move towards it or move away from it?
Well, you'll never be wealthy. You'll never be successful if you're not grateful. So that's, in my mind, an important part of success. I think one of the other things is accepting delayed gratification, because it's not going to happen quickly. But I also know you've got a formula that you call the DCI. Would you like to explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, DCI, and the reason I do it like that, Michael, is because if you leave models for people, you'll hear DCI again, and all of a sudden this body of content will come back to your brain. So D is, you have to make a decision, right? A decision is not a should. Oh, I should get a coach, or I should work on myself. I should. Michael, most people wind up shoulding all over themselves. That's one of my favorites, by the way.
I like that.
Instead, it has to be a must. I have to do this. It's funny. I've been in front of over 1 million people on stages around the world. And I regularly ask, who here is going to make $1 million this year? And, a few people raise their hands. I said, who here is somebody you love? And pretty much everybody raises their hand, family, kids, whatever. I go, so if that family member needed a critical operation to save their life and it cost $1 million, would you make the $1 million to save your child's life or your loved one's life? They go, absolutely. If you notice, they didn't even hesitate, because they had a big purpose, a big driving why, right? So it has to be a must. I have to do this. And there's that, I don't know how I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it anyways. There's that decision being made. I'm moving forward. The next thing is that you have to make a commitment to the decision. So that means you have to be consistent with it every day. So there's the C, DCI. You have to be consistent with it, because nobody goes to the gym once and works out and thinks you're buff for the rest of your life. It's what you do consistently. And then the last part would be that investment, because you're going to have to put in to get out. And as we talked about earlier, INVESTMENT, I invest in me. It's the best investment you'd ever make. Well, it can be money, but maybe it's time. Maybe you have to give back to somebody else. Maybe it's some studying you have to do. Maybe it's a book you have to read, but you got to keep putting in to get out and be consistent with that investing. Because people go, oh, I've gone to a course. Okay, what are you doing now? And, I still go to courses. Sometimes the presenter's terrible, whatever, but I still have an open mind about that. I'm going to get something out of this.
You may still get one little thing, won't you?
One thing, and it's crazy. Even if it's stuff I even teach already, I'm opening my mind to a
reminding
yourself, or a new level of it.
Yeah. But I've found a lot of people say, yeah, I will, someday I'll wait till next year. I've got all these things now happening before Christmas, or there's just too much happening at the moment. Procrastination seems to be a big issue for us as humans, doesn't it?
It does, Michael. And, it's just because people have a perception that moving towards what they want or having what they want is actually somehow going to perceive to be more painful than what you have now. So what if I get it and I lose it? Or what if I get it and I can't sustain it? I have to go back to where I am. I'm really going to feel bad. So I'd rather just stay here, but you'll never grow. And in life, either you evolve or you dissolve. You're either growing or decaying. So it's either getting better or it's getting worse. The truth is that if you work on yourself at that next level that you're going to, because it's those grand dream goals that force us into a thing called perturbation. And the perturbation is that when you're going for your goals, you're going to face challenges. Okay, well, your perception of that could be wait a minute, it's the challenges of life that give my life value. They're the ones that force me into growth. This is going to be awesome. It's going to personally develop me again to the next level. And so all of a sudden that challenge, well, it's not as big a deal as it used to be. And then once we get through that challenge, because you're going to have to ask new questions, take new strategies, get help, well, you've grown into a bigger, better version of yourself. So the challenge is what brought us value in our life. And that's called to perturbate or perturbation, to go through your challenges to grow on the other side of it.
Now, I know you put a program together, Kurek, to help people overcome procrastination. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, Michael. It's something I'm really excited about. It's called Stop What's Stopping You. And it's about how do you bust through the procrastination, because we have the goals, we're excited about life. And then all of a sudden we hit this brick wall and it just kind of dies on the vine. So it's a 3-part free masterclass. It's not a big sales event. I'm not here to sell you a lot of stuff. Knowing me, you understand I'm just the guy who produces a lot of value for people. Money's never really inspired me. And it's free. Each class is about an hour long, but man, is it profound learning. And if you want to read the results that people are getting from it, it's mind-blowing. It's awe-inspiring.
Well, I'm going to leave a link to it in the show notes. And when you just told me about it before we pressed the record button, I was actually very excited about it. So I'm actually going to subscribe to it as well. And I'm happy to learn from whoever I can learn from, and why not learn from an expert like you? So, Kurek, thank you for giving us your time and explaining to us that it is possible to succeed, because the media keeps, I think, allowing people, and social media also, in many ways, stops people from achieving their dreams, achieving their goals. Is it because people are jealous of others and they're holding them back? I don't know what it is. That there's this tall poppy syndrome in Australia. You're from the United States. One of my good friends, my co-author of Rich Habits, Poor Habits, Tom Corley, when I mentioned the tall poppy syndrome, he said, "What's that?" He said, "In America, we actually respect and look forward to hearing stories about people who are standing up and succeeding. Doesn't seem to be the same back here."
Well, Michael, I think it really exists everywhere. If you read the Bible, nothing's really changed in 2,000 years except for news travels faster. But in order to succeed in life, you have to be free of the good opinion of other people anyways. There's always going to be people who are trying to chop your legs out from under you and the rest of those things. They'd rather pull you back into the hole that they live in instead of using you as an inspiration to climb out. And, I get this with clients where I have to warn them, the dark side of success is, as we change orbits, as we get in this new orbit, some people aren't going to get on the new orbit with you, and you just have to let it go. It's not that your orbit's better than theirs or whatever. It's just different. And you allow people to be in their space, but sometimes you just have to let it go. It doesn't mean you have to dump them or get angry. Just let it go. It's biblical, actually. Let go and let God, or Buddha taught detachment. You just got to let it go.
Right. Well, I'm going to leave a link in the show notes because people are probably walking their dogs or driving or exercising at the moment. So I'll leave a link to that great program you've got, Stop What's Stopping You. And I look forward to having a chat with you again one day on the Michael Yardney podcast. Thank you so much for your time, Kurek.
Thank you, Michael. And thanks for any time you want me back. I'd be honored.
Thank you for spending this time with me today, and if you got some benefit from today's show, and you know somebody else who'd also benefit from it, please tell them about it. Help me in my quest to make more people financially literate. Of course, you can always tell the world about it by leaving a review wherever you're listening to this podcast, or all podcasts have a little share button, so please tell somebody about it. Now, I'll be back again real soon, but you can catch me in between these shows on social media. Just look for Michael Yardney. Oh, I've got a bonus for you, a way of saying thank you for subscribing to this podcast. Just go to podcastbonus.com.au. There'll be a link in the show notes, podcastbonus.com.au, and I've got a heap of ebooks and reports for you. Now, if you want to catch up between these shows, there's another way. You can also join my private Facebook group. Go to Facebook and look for the Property Update Facebook group, where I leave some tips every day. I'll be back again real soon. In the meantime, have a great week. Make it a great week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Michael Yardney podcast, which was brought to you by Metropole, who help their clients grow, protect, and pass on their wealth through strategic property and wealth advice. If you like what you heard and don't already subscribe, you'll find us on iTunes or on your favorite Android app as the Michael Yardney podcast. Watch out for our next show, which comes to you twice a week, and you'll learn some new ideas about property investment, success, and money in around 30 minutes. To get more of Michael's thoughts, go across to www.propertyupdate.com.au and sign up for his daily morning briefing, and you'll hear from not only Michael, but a group of leading property success and money experts. And just a reminder that the information you heard in this show today is general educational advice and not specific investment advice, as we don't know your personal circumstances. If you're looking for specific advice, why not ask the team at Metropole to help you?